Today we've got my first ever CGC return. We've got 26 cards to go through and a lot of Lilianas, so kick back and relax and let's get started. So first up we're going to start with the San Diego Comic-Con Lilianas. This one here is from 2018. It got a 9.5, 210 subgrade, so definitely a strong card. If you look on the back there, I could see like a little white dot here on two of the corners, so I can understand the corners being down a little bit. Then there's a tiny little dot here up in the corner, so that probably accounted for the surface, but overall definitely a very strong card and very happy with this. Next up we'll go back one more year, so 2017. And this one was actually the biggest surprise of the whole batch that I submitted. I thought it was a super strong card and it got an 8. I will say I probably missed some of these corners that were a little dinged up. I probably just looked at the front of the card, I guess. But centering was pretty good, but really the corners is what really held it back. And then the surface, the best I could find is I think there was a little indent way up here in the corner that was almost looked like a fingernail. Yeah, you probably won't be able to see it on camera. It was very subtle. But I was pretty surprised by this one. Definitely a little bit disappointed, but still, and 8's not the worst. And I mean, other than those corners, the card's pretty clean overall. But so up next we've got Liliana the Last Hope from 2016. And this is another card I can visually see how it's off center, so definitely understand that. There must have been something on the surface here. Corners had a little bit of whitening. I doubt any of these cards that submitted here have ever been played with, so I think they were just cut like that, but still, 9 not too bad. Now going back to 2015, we've got Liliana Heretical Healer, and got a nice 10 centering subgrade here. Overall pretty clean, and of course I always like these flip cards just because it's kind of like you're getting two cards in one. So, and it really, I like these CGC clear cases. It just kind of makes the card almost feel like it's kind of floating, but definitely a nice display piece. And then we've actually got one more of these. This one also got a 9. 10 centering again. Surface got a little bit of a worse grade, but still 9 overall, and I think that little dot right there might be the difference in surface. But still, very nice card. Next up, we've got 2014 with Liliana Vess. Got a hair there. And this one only at 8.5. Corners and surface held it up. Looks like there's a little piece of something there inside the case. But I can see, I mean, really these corners actually look pretty good. I mean, there's maybe a touch of white on like maybe just this top one. So 8.5 seems a little bit aggressive actually. Maybe there's something there on the bottom, but yeah, I think this one probably could have done a little bit better. And then we've actually got a second one, also an 8.5. All 9s up here, just on the surface. Got an 8. I don't know if I ever found where I think that came from, but whatever it is, it's very subtle, and you probably have to have it in the light, at the right angle just to see it, but still, pretty nice card. And then last up for the Comic-Con exclusives, we got Liliana of the Dark Realms, yet another 8.5. 10 centering, surface and edges got an 8.5. This one, I'm on the fence about if it might be worth resubmitting. I don't think resubmitting to CGC at least would probably do much. The only reason is with the edges at 8.5. I think that entirely came from, and I said this in the submission video I did, is that, I mean, you can see a little bit of, I'll say, roughness with the surface finish on the left edge here and on the bottom. And yesterday when I looked on eBay, there were like 10 of these for sale, and 10 out of 10 of them, you could see from the pictures, they all looked like this. I think that's just how they were all made. At least all the ones that I've been able to see pictures of. And like with PSA, 4 of the 4 that have been submitted are all 10s. Maybe there was a single or 2 9s in there. And then it looked like a lot of the BGS ones were also 10s that had been submitted. And there's not a lot that have been submitted, but that just tells me I think CGC might be looking at these edges a little bit differently. They definitely knocked them down. Like these other 2 edges are just perfect. And really, besides that surface finish, there's not like any whitening or rubbing or anything like that. So I don't know, I think maybe they were a little bit aggressive on the edges, and really if that got bumped up to just a 9, then I think that would bring the entire score up to a 9. So it's a consideration to, I don't really want to send it to BGS, and I don't really want to have a single PSA version of the Comic-Con exclusives, but I do think that this one had a decent shot at being a 9. Next up, we've got Liliana and the Veil Box Topper Edition. We've got a 9.5 here. So definitely a very strong card. I can visually see the centering, so that being down a little bit is definitely fair. Surface got a 10. That usually seems like the biggest challenge for most of these cards, is to get a good surface grade. But overall, pretty happy with this one. And then we've actually got a second one, and it's the first 10 of the submission. So this one was super close to just being a perfect 10. I can't really see any issue with the edges that could have brought it down. It must be extremely difficult to see, or maybe the case covers it up slightly, but still a very strong card. Definitely a nice looking card, one of the most iconic cards in Magic, so very happy to have this in 10. And now we'll take a quick break from Liliana's, and we've got a few Earthbinds that I submitted. So this is an Alpha Earthbind, got an 8. And I wasn't expecting 10s on any of the Alpha and Beta Earthbinds that I submitted. They all had some corner wear, so not surprised to see 7.5 in corners, although this one looked pretty clean overall. I don't know, all the Alpha corners are gonna have some kind of weirdness to them just because that's how they all were, so. But overall, still pretty decent. It's just hard to get Alpha cards, you know, being sold and everything, get those in high grades. And then we've got a second one here in 7.5. Just same sort of story. There's 6.5 on surface, and I don't know if you can, right there in the middle of the circle light, you might be able to see on camera, but there's a little bit of rubbing that I would almost guess could be from like a 3-ring binder or something. I don't have a 3-ring binder, so I know it wasn't something that I did with it, but that's kind of where I'm thinking that surface could have came from. And then we've got a 7. So largely same sort of story, 9.5 centering, so overall nice looking card. Just a little bit of surface and corner issues, of course. Although again, these corners, they really don't look too bad to me. I think this bottom left one here is the only one that really stands out of having a little bit of white, but overall not bad for an Alpha card. And then we got one final one, which is a 6.5, so they just kept going down. 10 centering, that's one good thing. But edges, there's definitely some of that similar rubbing over here on the edge, kind of there in the middle of the light, but could have been from a binder, I'm not sure. Corners, the corners are definitely a little rougher, so I can sort of see where they're coming from on all these things. And then we've got beta Earthbinds, and these fared better in general. So we got an 8.5 on this one, another 8.5, yet another 8.5. Surprisingly, the centering is worse on all of these, even though, I mean, this looks pretty well centered. I mean, it's off a touch, but I mean, it is what it is. It wasn't going to be enough to like raise it up to a 9, I don't think. But then we've got an 8. And then we've got another 8. Pretty strong centering grade is again. Surface and corners, that's just going to be the story with a lot of alpha and beta cards that are still out there that haven't already been graded. Yet another 8. And then last and least, I guess, is a 7.5. So corners was weakness here. But yeah, any of these things going up by half a grade probably would have bumped this to an 8, I think. Okay, so that's the Earthbinds that were submitted, and then we got another stack of Lilianas here. So first up is the Dreadhorde General, Japanese alternate art from War the Spark. Got a 9.5, a very strong 9.5, just a single half of a point bump on either of these would have made it a 10. You can, visually see that the centering is off a little bit, so the centering was going to be a 9.5. Definitely not upset about that. And then edges, I was able to find a spot on it that probably was responsible for that. Won't spend too much time looking for it here, but I can kind of understand. And I mean, this paints a good picture of the card. 2 10 subgrades and 2 9.5, so very nearly a 10. And really, that's kind of when you're dealing with these companies that do subgrades and the half points and everything, you kind of need to recalibrate how you see different scores. Like if you look at the PSA market, at least with a lot of cards that I see that I follow, but the difference between a 9 and a 10 is like the 10 like triples or quadruples the price of the 9, and that's pretty extreme. If you're dealing with like say someone has a CGC 10 or a BGS 10, that doesn't give you the whole story, because it could be a perfect 10 or like a black label, or it could be just a regular 10 that has a single half point sub 9.5 or something, and that 9.5 could be on any of the 4 subgrades, so there's a lot of possibilities there. And then if you have a 9.5 like this, you could have a couple 10 subgrades. And so what I usually see with like the BGS and CGC grades and prices is you have more like a sort of an even like price to grade ratio, or it's less parabolic, it's less exponential. If you get like a perfect 10 like black label, there is like a big grade premium there. But overall, I kind of feel like the pricing is a little bit more fair to the card, and really it's just all psychological. Like if you think about a PSA 10, that could be as good as a black label 10. Like there's nothing on the score label that would contradict that, or that says that you're wrong about that. Like you can sort of just use your imagination to say how good is it really. And then if you have a 9, you can use your imagination to say how bad is it. Like it could have been right on the verge of an 8. And so you have that extreme price difference between like a 9 and a 10. And I think that's because people are going to be super optimistic with the 10 and super pessimistic with the 9, and so you're really like comparing like a perfect card almost to an 8, and that's where you get these really big price swings that are sort of unfair to the card. So I kind of like seeing the subgrades that really shows that there's a lot of middle space in there between those two extremes. So now we've got a last hope here. Sorry for the big ramble, but almost done here. So this is from the Mythic Edition, Guilds of Ravnica. Pretty solid 9.5. Corners, had a little bit of whitening on them, so that was kind of the main deal there, but then it just got 9.5s across the board for the other subgrades. But very nice looking card. Again, I just really like these CGC cases that really just sort of makes the card pop and makes it display very nicely. 2 cards left. So here's, you didn't see this in the submission video if you watch this. So like that Liliana of the Dark Realms, that had to be in a different grading service because its price was higher than all the others. And then you needed a 25 card minimum. So I had to pull up 2 other cards that I didn't plan on sending. This was one of them. I just pulled it out of the binder because I think it looks nice and all. And I thought it was just going to be like a shoe-in for a 9.5 or a 10 because it was, you know, it's a newer card from 2021. And so this was like probably my biggest surprise. And it got an 8. After looking at this for like 20 minutes probably, I was able to find some scratches here in the middle, but you need to have a bright light and you need to be at a perfect angle, and like even from where I'm sitting now, I can't see them. But there were some there, and so that's what was responsible with that. Maybe just taking it in and out of a binder, I'm not sure, but I was sort of really taken aback when I saw this grade, just because it's such a new card. I thought it was just going to be like an easy 9.5 or a 10 or something, so kind of got destroyed on this one. Not a huge deal just because it's the cheapest card of the entire submission, so if it's going to happen to anything, I'm fine with it happening to that. And then it was almost the same story on this very last one. So this is Liliana from Duels of the Planeswalkers. But you know, I can see the slight off centering, so the 9.5 there makes sense. But surface and corners kind of got wrecked again. A little bit of whitening down here, so I can sort of see the corners. But I don't know what got it on surface. It's nothing I've been able to find. So this was another card that I was just like, it'll just be an easy 9.5 or a 10. It's, I guess it's a little bit older of a card compared to the Comic-Con ones, but it just looked really clean, so I thought it was going to be an easy one. It's probably the second cheapest card out of all these. So again, not the end of the world that it got an 8, and you know, it's got a 9.5 and a 9 here, so not terrible, but it also just nice looking card, so that's why I wanted to get it slabbed up. But that does it. So we had 12 Earthbinds and 14 Lilianas. Of course, this was the best of them all. Really nice looking card, plus nice pristine 10. Let me know what your favorite card out of all these were. Let me know your favorite Comic-Con exclusive. There's 6 of them to choose from, or just your favorite card in general. But I'm curious to see. I think I will be submitting probably another batch of different cards to CGC, and then I think I'm going to do a submission to PSA as well for some other like lower end cards, just because the PSA's quite a bit cheaper than CGC if you go with the subgrades, which to me that's kind of part of the point of doing CGC. So anyway, hope you guys enjoyed it and have a good day.